Welcome back again to the 40% Better podcast. And today, Oscar has graciously accepted our invitation. He's here to talk about leadership with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. Thanks for doing the podcast. I appreciate it. And for those that are new to the podcast, we're talking about technology leadership. The stuff that we talk about applies broadly outside of tech also, but because we're in the tech world, that's kind of what we focus on. So the canned question that I ask everybody is, how did you get started doing leadership? You know, was it like you were 8 years old organizing soccer teams, or you got thrown into it when you were 35? Like, you know, how did that work for you?
Yeah. So for me, I guess I have one of those brains that people come to me for advice, and like I could think of like 100 things at one time, and you know, I kind of think of scenarios that like other people wouldn't think about. So my first job out of college was in a clothing company, and I started, I had nothing to do with tech when I first came out of college. I wanted to do tech, but I wasn't getting the job offers that I wanted to from those companies. And I ended up getting a job offer in a clothing company. And at the time, I loved also, like, I grew up in New York, so a very metropolis city. People love to get dressed. So I kind of like had that background where like I like wearing certain things, and so I became a visual merchandiser. Had nothing to do with what I do today or the last 15 years of my life, right? But I started working there, and the boss, he kind of like, it's a weird thing to say about myself, but he kind of liked me a lot, and he liked the way I worked. He liked the way my brain thought, and he started giving me more tasks and people to take care of, kind of to manage, right? And it started as like 2 people that I would manage. And at the end of the day, after, I would probably say like after a year, I was already managing like 15 people. And
wow.
Yeah. And I was a little kid. I had no idea. Like, I was so lucky. Like, why me? You know, but I guess I was fortunate enough to kind of like, I worked hard. I guess also when you're younger, you also like have a different energy, you know? But I was able to apply everything that I've kind of learned as a child. And because I grew up in a home that, you know, we had limited funds, and we kind of had to like, like if I wanted money, I had to go work. I had to kind of like fend for myself. That's the wording I was looking for. If I couldn't afford something, I built it myself with my hands, you know, and it goes back to kind of like what you and I were saying privately. You know, I'm used to using the hands and to build things. And so I kind of was one of those people that knew how to deal with the little resources that I had, right? And where maybe people didn't have that ability, or I don't know, you know, I was fortunate enough to be able to like say, hey, I have these skills, I have this skill set, and I know how to apply it.
Yep. That's cool. I like that. And especially the having that under-resourced kind of a childhood. I think that forces us to be creative problem solvers, and to be like, okay, yeah, I can't buy it, so how do I build it? Or
how am I going to make an extra buck, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you become more of a entrepreneurial thinker.
Yes.
Yeah, which is I think that's such an important skill set to have.
Yeah, and especially, sorry. I was going to say, especially like in like when I was doing the clothing or in any other business later on also, you know, I was always teaching my teams that were under me, like, hey, this pocket is going to cost an extra dollar. Like, do we need to spend another dollar on this? Like, do we need to, because we were selling low end clothing, so do we really want to raise the retail another $4 or $5 just to have an extra pocket? Get rid of the pocket and bring it down so it's a $9.99 pair of jeans, So always trying to think of like, and again, it's just because we had to. We had to do it as young kids.
Yeah, I like that. That's so interesting. And okay, so how did you make a transition from the clothing industry to technology? Like that's, I'm not seeing a real
So
obvious.
I mean, neither. There was no correlation. Well, when I tell you, you're gonna be shocked. So the way I went to tech was after the clothing company. My brother came to me. He was working in an investment bank at the time, and he said, "Hey, I want to make more money, and the best way to make money is to own your own company." I was like, "Okay," and he's like, "Let's start a company together." I'm like, "Okay, let's do it. What do you want to do?" And this was like I don't know, like 14 years ago. I can't even remember the time period anymore. But he said, let's start a glove company, a touch screen glove company. Because in the cold, you can't use your cell phone with normal
Right.
gloves. And so that was where the first, uh, uh,
Interesting.
yeah, that's where we closed the gap for tech. And like I always wanted to do tech. People when I was young always said like, you're really good at computers, you're really good at building websites and coding, basic coding, and you should be in computers, should be in tech. And I mean, I guess it took a couple of years for me to get there, but yeah, that was
That's
the first
interesting.
time. Yeah.
Huh. And then what was the next piece after that?
So after that, after we finished with the glove business, I was trying to start another business, and I guess a serial entrepreneur in me, and I was going to do something in tech. I even reached out to who was it? Greg, I forgot his last name, but the guy from Redbox. And I came to him
Hmm.
with a business plan, business idea, and he's like, "This is great." He's like, "I love the idea," and it was in tech, and he said, "Start this business, put a little money into it, and once you get it going, come back to me in 4 months." But I'm totally in. And so I was about to start that business, and somebody poached me, and I never ended up going into that business, but I started doing electric mobility, so electric scooters like the Lime and the Birds of the
Oh yeah.
world, electric bicycles, and so I went into there. I went into that technology.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So that's such a different path. And I like the manufacturing aspect of it. Like with a real physical thing, it's not just, you know, on the keyboard making code.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's like, okay, how do we get the manufacturing to build us whatever it is you want to do? Yeah, that totally makes sense. That's
Yeah, but
cool.
by the way,
So,
I would much prefer not to be in hardware and have like an AI website that's just coded, because
right.
if you have a problem with a website, you just could change a couple lines of code. But hardware, once it's produced, you're stuck with the physical hardware. And if you have software that works with the hardware, you have to kind of like figure it out. And like, okay, we can't change the software too much because then it won't talk with the original hardware. So like, it's not so easy. People don't realize how hard hardware actually is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. You got to figure out the manufacturing tolerances and having software in it, that's a whole other level of challenge. So when you were doing this, like how big teams did you have? Like what was that distribution like?
In which company?
Oh, uh, Well,
So
definitely in the later company when you were getting into mobility. Yeah.
yeah, so I had 20 something under me, 20 something people under me. And well, you don't know, but it's difficult. It's hard because every single person is another character, and you have to, it's not only like, hey, let's get to work. You also, there's times that you have to like be a parent and be, because everybody, I think I was telling you this a couple of weeks ago, but um, as adults, we're we're just children in an adult body because the personalities don't change. They get a little better, but at the end of the day, we're still just children, And if and everybody has issues and problems, and if they don't resolve those problems through therapy or through self growth, they're going to be adults with those same problems. And so when you're taking care of a team of 25 people, and because not everybody is going to be the same personality, because sometimes you need to get a coder that's amazing, but he could have a lot of like, maybe he needs a lot of attention and a lot of love. And then you have another guy who's like great at this, like not everybody is going to mesh and be perfect, especially when you're thinking in like larger teams. If you have
Right.
a small
Right.
team of like 4 people, then that's no problem. Everybody's going to get along, or like you could figure it out and be a good leader with them. But the larger the team, the more conflict you're going to have, and kind of like these small HR problems that like you have to kind of take care of.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's part of the price that we have to pay for leading people
Yeah.
is that. Yeah. Um,
And it becomes also like a full-time job, like you
right.
kind of think when you're going to be like a leader, you're saying, okay, we're going to have a meeting once this day, and then I'm going to talk to this team, and and we're going to make sure that they're focused on this, and then another on this, and just like maybe 2 3 hours that you're like catching up with the team members. But sometimes, and then like you'd have 5 or 6 hours for yourself to do whatever else other work you have. But sometimes it could be like a whole day of like back to back meetings and all this other stuff, just like taking care of these people.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that's one of the parts that doesn't get like brought up often enough is how much time you're going to spend taking care of other people.
Yeah.
And I think if you're creative or you're really good at individual contributor, like for me it was really a shock when I went from coding for a living to running my first software team because yeah, I had that like in my head. I thought I have to write as much code as I was doing before. I should be able to, but no. And it took me talking to my boss about it and going like I can't figure out how to write as much code as I used to because I'm doing all this stuff and he said stop and I was like what and he said you don't have to write code ever again. You
Yeah.
have a whole team of coders.
Yeah.
You should be focused on getting them to operate really really well. And if you get lucky and you can spend 10 minutes coding, that should, like you're gonna have to get used to that idea. And I had to really wrap my head around that.
Because you
Um,
like to code also.
well, I did, but then what I discovered was I really like product design even more. And so for me, oh, now I can go talk to more stakeholders. I can find more problems. I can get the product to work better. And then I have better direction to give the team. And that was kind of how I transitioned into product management without even realizing that that's what I was doing was now that my time was freed up, I got to talk to all these people and then come back and go, oh, we need to build this thing because there's $800,000 waiting in the wings with these three clients alone. Once we build this thing, right? And the team was like, okay, cool. Um, so yeah, that's just part of the game. But I don't think people always I don't think that's part of the conversation when people get promoted.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that they don't realize and that they're going to lose that thing they've been doing. They've got to transition it into a different person.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I would totally agree with you on that. Most people that I've spoken to after, like, whether it's friends or family, whenever they get promoted and they go into this like new role, they think it's almost like, hey, we're doing the same thing, just a little more, and we're getting paid a little more. But like, usually there's a lot more that's involved, that's transition that they're transitioning
right.
to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You mentioned conflict on the teams. Do you have uh, any secrets for handling conflict in teams?
Um, do I have any secrets? You know what? That's a good
Or
question.
what are the techniques that you use when there's
I,
conflict?
you know what I try to do whenever there's conflict? I try to bring people together. I know this sounds so silly, but I try to bring people together to get to know each other better. You know what I mean? So like,
Mm.
maybe I'll say like, hey guys, let's grab a beer tonight and invite the people who are really clashing, you know. And I think once they
Mm.
get to know each other better on like a personal level, you know, they're able to like become friendlier with one another.
Right, right.
That's been usually my most successful thing. Like, try to bring a way for them to get closer together. And if that's still not working, then like try to separate them as much as you can.
Yep, yep. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, once you can humanize somebody, it's much easier to work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah, because I think most people look, I mean, I was kind of shedding a little light on this earlier, but like, you grow up from a child into an adult, and you have these problems from when you're a child, and if you don't fix them, you're always going to have these problems. So if something, especially like if you're starting to talk about like traumatic experiences, you know, if you have a traumatic experience and now all of a sudden this new guy that you're working with maybe reminds you of something that is that trauma, you know, that the person personally had, that could also take time for the person to bring down their walls. And so that's why I kind of like having, uh, you know, like personal experiences, bringing them together, whether that's, I told you, like bringing them out for a drink, or something along those lines.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
everybody has their thing, you know, everybody has their thing. And like, the best way to do it is like, if you're somebody who takes time to trust or whatever it is, you know, how do you deal with that? Right.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I think I'm thinking about the times I've had to deal with challenging with people that were challenging, and uh, one of them, we ended up firing somebody
Sometimes
because
you got to let them go.
yeah, because clearly for for whatever reason they just didn't want to
Play
um,
nice.
they didn't want to play nice. Yeah, yeah, and we're creating drama, and the third time it happened, I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like, you know, we've talked about this twice now, and you got to go. You know,
Yeah.
and I think, and the opposite of that is have you ever had a team where everybody was too nice and
Yeah.
you actually felt like you
Yes.
wanted more, like
Yeah. Input.
they weren't. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. They're all like,
How do you
okay, yeah.
solve that one?
Um, so I think it's important, like, look, it all goes down to like people's personalities, right? Most people, you're never going to be able to change who they are, right? But if you're able to take, um, like you said, like, you had this person who you had to you spoke to them on the third time, you had to fire them, right? So they're obviously bringing in either a toxic environment, right? And the way you could think about it is, if somebody's sick and they come into a room and all of a sudden they start coughing on everybody, everybody's going to start getting sick, right? So the best way to do it, remove the virus, remove the person that's sick, right? Now, if everybody's too nice, sometimes you need to bring in somebody that's a little more tough, and that's really what it comes down to. Like you have to bring somebody who is able to make decisions better, is able to, but also who's not arrogant, right?
Right.
You kind of need to bring that like perfect puzzle piece to fit and bring the two other pieces together, right? Or eight pieces that you want to bring, plugging in that little puzzle piece in the middle, that all of a sudden all the other surrounding puzzle pieces will fit in perfectly into that guy.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think for this kind of a problem, there's multiple solutions,
Yeah.
multiple ways to approach it. I was thinking, I had a team one point in time that I inherited that was very, very nice. And part of the problem with that was that I had 3 people on the team that were really smart but super shy.
Yeah.
Who just went along with what the couple of more vocal people said.
Yeah.
And it makes me nervous when part of the team just doesn't provide input.
Yeah.
And so I started asking them in one-on-ones.
I was about to say that's the only other way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got them to open up to me in the one-on-ones consistently, repeatedly, comfortably. And then I started saying, look, can you talk about stuff in the team meetings? Because I think everybody else needs, not just me, but the rest of the team needs to hear your voice.
Yeah.
And it took probably 4 months, but ultimately,
It's a long time.
Yeah, like I had to be patient, right?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't just like, oh, next week you have to go do this. It's like, because they had to build their own psychological safety up.
Yeah. The question
and
is why, right? So what was it? What was it about the other people that they were like worried to speak up, or maybe they were worried that they wouldn't be liked, or maybe they thought that the other people would just be like, "That's a horrible idea," or we don't.
Yeah,
You don't always know. You don't always know. That's the problem.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
sorry, I cut you off, but yeah.
Oh no, it's all good. Yeah. The interesting thing was they were really smart, and they were so smart that after a while, the people that previously had been so vocal just waited for them to talk.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we want to hear what they say first before we say anything, because they've got better ideas than we do, And that was such a a transformation in the team, and I think for that one, probably that particular team, we had the biggest imbalance between initially the people that were vocal and the people that weren't, and when we got to be a level playing field, development wise, coding wise, we were so much faster.
Yeah.
Because I think the people, yeah.
I was going to say the other the other option you could have is if you have them all in a meeting room, the first thing you should do is ask those guys, hey, do you have any ideas specifically to that guy, right? To if you have 1 or 2 or 3 that are nicer, that are like too shy to speak up, or worried that they're maybe they're not going to be liked. Who knows what their thing is, But what's your idea? We're going to go around the room. You tell me first what your idea is. I think that's maybe even the best way to go about it.
Yeah. That is actually one of the things that we did. I was like, what do you think? And they would just, when I first started doing it, they would look at me and be like, uh, and they didn't want to say anything, and really that was part of the whole process of getting them comfortable talking to me first, and working a couple months of that, and then okay, look, in the next meeting when I call on you, I'd really like the team to hear from you,
Yeah.
and not being like I wasn't obnoxious about it at all. I was just like, I think it'd be great for the team to hear your perspective. And by then, I had repeatedly said, that's a genius idea. Like, why don't you bring this up in the next meeting, right? Like I'd said that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, like giving them a boost of confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
And that's such a, yeah, it's
my
such a
my
total,
my light turned off again.
ah, I can't tell.
Give me a second. I'm gonna turn it back on. Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. That's so funny. We're slaves to our technology. We're
Hey, I'm
slaves to our
back.
technology. It's so funny how this stuff works. Yeah,
There's a motion sensor, but I guess I wasn't moving enough. So if you see me
you need to
dancing in a couple minutes, yeah, exactly.
exactly wave your arms in the air, and then yeah, then all the lights will come back on again. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
everyone else in the office will think I'm crazy, but yeah.
It's okay. Tell them it's for your shoulder mobility.
Yeah, exactly. I'll
Right.
just be
Tell them
like,
that's
this is
why
what
you
happens when you turn 40. You just have to start making like these strange movements.
exactly.
Then
Yeah,
I'll see in
yeah.
the whole office, people are gonna start like doing all kinds of weird movements. Be like, yeah.
It gets the blood flow going. I bet you can find somebody that will talk about how that's a performance improvement.
Yeah, well, I was just watching a podcast the other day about like how every hour you're supposed to do air squats.
Oh
10
yeah.
air squats every hour.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. Either that or do some push-ups. Pick one.
hmm hmm
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so what are you working on now?
Right now, the company is called Space, and the product is the Space Safe. So we are the first and only safe to have a physical safe that you would put your valuables in, but we're the only safe to have a camera, touch screen, tamper sensors, and app connectivity. So you could think of like Ring doorbell, but for safes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And how big are they?
Right now we're still startup phase, so we have one safe size, and it's the most common safe size. It's like microwave size or something you'd see in a hotel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what really separates us is not just like the tech of just like having one safe, but we also target hospitality and enterprise. And that way, if they buy our safes, let's say they buy 500 safes, they have a whole web portal that they're able to see everything that's happening in the entire fleet.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
very clever, I like that. That's a very clever idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Especially in a hotel.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, we've got 400 people that are not using their safes. And if that's a revenue thing, maybe we priced it too high.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny that you
Yeah.
speak specifically about hotels, but like, so specifically with our product, you get notifications if something is happening, right? And there's over 44 different notifications. You could set individual ones on or off. And so for hotels specifically, we don't have all those notifications. We just have like one, right? Or two rather. It's, hey, did somebody try to put in a PIN code and was it successful or was it unsuccessful? And then there's another one that's it was closed. So the idea behind it is if you're having lunch and you're checked into a hotel and all of a sudden you get incorrect PIN was entered on your safe, you're going to freak out. You're running back, you know?
Yeah. 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 Oh, that's so. Yeah, it popped into my head because 2 weekends ago I went to a conference with my partner, and the hotel we were at didn't have a safe,
Oh my God.
and I wanted to put my computer in the safe.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm like, normally most hotels have safes, and I'm kind of used to that. Like, oh, I'm gonna throw my computer in the safe and a couple other things, and I'm like, where's the safe?
It's going
So,
under your pillow now, right? Where'd you put it?
no, I put it in my backpack and carried it around all day long.
Horrible.
Um, yeah, I was like, I'll just take the laptop and, okay, great. I get a little bit extra weight to carry, not a big deal. But I was like surprised because so many hotels have safes that when that one didn't, I was like, oh, wait a minute, what am I missing? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I like that idea. That's very clever. Are you guys on the market now?
Yeah. Right now we're actually sold out of product, and we're
Oh,
actually
congratulations.
thank you, thank you. We're actually in the middle of doing a raise because we're trying to scale, and so the extra money will help us scale in a really nice way. And
Nice.
it'll also bring the other products that we've designed. We've designed 4 other safe sizes and models, and yeah. And so once we complete that raise, it'll be really great. But yeah,
Very cool. I like it.
thank
How
you,
big is your
thank you.
team right now?
Right now, we have about 12 people. It's a small team.
Okay. Very
It's
cool.
still
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
still super startup phase.
Right,
But
right. Yeah, that
yeah,
totally makes sense. Yeah,
sold a
yeah.
couple thousand of these safes already. Yeah.
So you've proven that there's people that want that, which is awesome.
Oh
I
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have, I mean, because we have a touch screen, we have an entire operating system on our safe. So you could imagine like the coding that goes into it, but also the features because of a touch screen. You could compare it to like a traditional safe is like a flip phone, and our phone is like an iPhone. I mean, sorry, our
Right,
safe is like an iPhone. We just
right.
and we have 2FA and we have like screensavers and so many different features that like really people once they see it and they hear about it and they see it in person, they're like, wow, I need this, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Especially 2FA. I'm like, oh, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a safe and it doesn't. It's just it's a pin pad, right?
Yeah.
Like I
And
plug
those
my
things could
pin.
be broken into so easily. That's the problem with those digital keypads also.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny is the at one point in time I forgot the combination,
Yeah.
and I was, I'm like trying, like there's only so many possible, right? I'm like trying, and I couldn't get it to work, and it was my user error that it wasn't working. But I called the safe guys that I bought it from, and I'm like, okay, here's my problem. What do I do? And they're like, well, if you have to, we can come out with pry bars, and we
Uh-huh.
can pry the door open.
Uh-huh.
And
That's a great
I was
answer.
like, yeah, but I'm like, okay.
I'd rather hear that than pushing 00000 like 10 times and brute forcing and getting in, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But I was like, okay. And they're like, by the way, you have a serial number, and the if you call the manufacturer and you give them the serial number,
Yeah.
then they can actually give you an alternative code that will get you in.
Just a serial number. That's all it takes.
Yeah, serial number of the box, right? And they've got like my name and like who am I, all that stuff, right? And they're probably going to email me something like a 2FA kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But they're like the serial number is the critical part. Uh,
But can't
you got to
anyone
go.
else can't anyone else that like reads your mail, takes an
Oh yeah,
envelope from your
yeah,
mail, sees your name, sees your address, then goes in, calls the thing, gets the serial number and says like, "Hey, they don't even have to stay for that phone call. They could leave and come back."
yeah. Well, they have to be in. They'd have to get into my house, right, to get the serial number.
Yeah. So,
Which okay, yeah, yeah.
well, I mean, if they're breaking in, they're going to break in. They'll instead of doing it once, they'll do it twice.
Right, right.
I'm,
Well, and the reality is, if if you're that serious about getting into somebody's safe, they probably break in with pry bars. You know, if they know that I've got a safe, and now that I've had this podcast, they're gonna know that I've got a safe. They're gonna break in with pry bars, and they're gonna be like, okay, we'll take the door off. You know, if they're
Sometimes
that
it takes too
sophisticated.
long. Sometimes it takes
Yeah,
too
well,
long. I
true.
mean,
Yeah,
part of like when you're burglarizing, the most important thing that you want to do is get in and out as soon as possible. You know, and
right.
if to they don't want to take extra tools if they don't have to, right? Because that's dead
That's a good
weight
point.
that like they could use to carry out whatever you're holding inside that safe.
Right, right. Yeah. Okay.
But you would actually love this, by the way. So we have forgot pin on our safe. So when you set up your safe or any time that you want to, you go into the settings and you answer these like specific questions that you choose,
Hmm.
similar to how like you do it on a website, but instead of like what street where you did you grow up on, it's a little more fun for us. So like, who's your first kiss? You know, like who's yeah, something like most people will not know or guess. Um,
Right, right, right.
so yeah, we have that, and also like we don't actually have any access. You know, if somebody loses their PIN code, like we can't do anything about it. We don't have any backdoors. You know?
Right, right. Well,
Yeah,
but if you've got a reset password function,
yeah,
like every website out there does, right?
yeah,
Then that totally makes sense because you don't need to know it. It's like,
yeah.
Apple doesn't need to know my password because there's a reset password button, um, and it's no big deal. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a um. What size safes are you going to be making?
We have a big safe, tall safe. I think they're like a rifle safe size.
Okay,
Um, it's I forget the exact dimensions. I think it's 6 feet tall, and about 30 inches wide. I gotta see the exact safe size. But
hmm,
we've designed about four or five other safe sizes that are like
nice.
small, big, huge, medium size. And I don't know if you were able to see our safe online or not, but it doesn't look like a normal safe. The exterior of the safe is like rounded and the front is glass. So it it's not supposed to look like a safe, you know? And
Oh, very cool.
yeah, and so these other
Okay,
safe sizes have like they have the same kind of aesthetics, right? The idea is it doesn't look
right,
like a safe because you don't want somebody breaking into your house and knowing where your safe is, right? That's the idea behind it.
right, right,
So if it just looks like an ordinary piece of electronic or whatever it is, they would never assume that that's your safe, right? They'll
right,
just be
right,
like, "Oh, that's a printer. We're not stealing the printer. Who needs a printer?
right.
We'll buy a printer for $100." You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, even yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting. That's a clever idea. You could make
thank
it
you.
look like a whole shelf of books,
Yeah, yeah.
and it would just look like a shelf full of books, and no one's going to steal your books.
You know what? At the end of this podcast, maybe like I can't show it to you now, but maybe I'll send you like we'll do a private call and I'll show you like one of them and like one of the new ones that we're going to be coming out with. I think you'll be like amazed with the design that we have, and you'll say like, this is incredible. Like, why has no one
Cool.
else ever thought of something like this? Like,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
totally buy 100 of these. You know? Yeah,
I don't know what I
but
would do with 100 safes. That would be challenging. That's cool. What question haven't I asked you about leadership that you think should be part of everybody's conversation?
yeah. I mean, so when you're talking in terms of like, you may have a team, sometimes like you could have a team of, let's say, 10 salespeople, but I think what people don't always realize is you could have multiple different teams who each have to talk to one another, right? And and sometimes like, so you could have a team of 10 salesmen and 7 production people and then 4 designers. And so even though you may have like smaller teams, a lot of the times some of these teams need to actually like interact with one another, and being able to like talk with having each team, because each team like speaks a different language. You know what I mean? Like the designer does not speak the same language as a firmware developer,
Right.
but they still need to be able sometimes to be able to talk to one another. And maybe the middleman is also because the designer could be a packaging designer or a marketing designer or a firmware or like a UI UX designer, right? So I think what people don't always realize is like, how do you get people who do completely different jobs to be able to speak the same language, right? And I think that's the most difficult part. It's not just like, hey, if you're dealing with 10 people on a team that's all doing similar type of work, they're all coding or whatever they're doing, they're speaking the same language. And then you're just thinking about personalities. But if you're now bringing in different teams together to be able to make better product or to be able to make better marketing materials or whatever you're doing to be able to bring these teams together, I think that's the toughest part of, and we didn't really discuss that earlier.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because to me, that's one of the critical elements in team leadership. And
Yeah,
there's like the communication module out of our training, that's the key focus is there's two big focuses. One of them is having these stakeholder conversations where you really get to know and understand people in across the business,
yeah,
to understand their problems and understand their language and be able to translate it into your own. And then the other one is how do you, as a team lead, how do you get the executives to pay attention to you?
right, right.
And that's, if you can do both of those things, then you're gonna you can do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
They're
And
they're unlocked.
oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no, go.
I was going to say the other thing also is like when you're bringing in different teams, specifically, like for my company, I'm dealing with hardware for the last decade. But when you're bringing in hardware and you're bringing in an electrical engineer and a firmware engineer and you're bringing a software engineer, you're bringing all these different people together. The funniest thing is that if an issue arises, each one blames the other guy. I think you're muted, but each one blames the other guy, right? And so as a team leader, you need to always like try to, hey, minimize blaming because that's how you make sure that everybody's getting along. But not only
Right.
that, but in addition to that, you need to resolve the issue, right? Because if everybody's blaming the other guy, you need to sit them all down in a room and say like, hey guys, let's try to think outside the box here. What have we done? What haven't we done? Like how do we, because it was working before or whatever whatever, each, I don't
Exactly.
think,
Yeah.
I don't think there's like a cookie cutter way to like conversation to have where it's just like, hey, let's have this conversation over and over with each type of team that we're having. I think depending on the type of team, depending on the type of problem that you're having or solutions that you're trying to solve or products that you're trying to create, I think when you're having your meetings with your teams, I think it's, you need to kind of understand each team a little. And I think that's what separates a good team leader, not just like, hey, I'm friends with Mike who's the developer. Like you have to understand a little. I think it's important that the leader needs to understand a little about each team and what they do and how they could speak together and make like amazing products.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And one of the things that I always think about and that we train people is um, leveraging Jocko Willink's extreme ownership model.
Yeah.
Because I think once once you just go, oh yeah, something went wrong, and no matter what happened, in some way, shape, or form, I'm responsible for it.
Yeah.
It completely changes the conversation because then you're like, okay, we've got this problem. What didn't I understand? Right? Because clearly it would have worked fine if I'd understood whatever it was, and I'd been able to get my team to operate appropriately for that. What did I miss? Right? And how
Yeah.
do I make sure that I don't miss it the next time around? And okay, granted, it takes the first time you do that, it definitely takes some courage
Yeah.
because that's like admitting that you've screwed up to a group of your peers can be challenging, but it's way easier the second time. And by the fifth time, it's completely easy. And by the way, along everybody else starts going, well, wait a minute, it's probably my fault because I probably
Yeah.
didn't explain it well enough, right?
Yeah.
And now people are they're trying to jock. It kind of goes the other way. People are jockeying, going, wait a minute, no, it's actually might be my fault because I didn't spec this out very well. And so how the hell would you know what to do anyway? You know, and so now it goes completely the other way, and it becomes this very collaborative environment. But someone has to be the first mover in that context is the person in the room that's got the most nerve
Yeah.
and can go, okay, I screwed up. I'm sorry. You know, something I didn't get, right?
It's funny
Or
because like people are afraid to take responsibility, you know, but
right,
um I I don't think, I mean, for me, as somebody who's like, I've hired and fired tons of people, or not only have done that, but also have had the ability to, right? Like anybody who's working under me, I've had the ability to say, like, that's the door, get out, you know?
right,
I'm, you're not doing that. You know, if
right,
somebody
right,
makes a mistake, you're not saying like, there's the door, right? Instead,
right,
you're
right,
like, hey, thanks for taking accountability, right? Thanks for
right,
taking,
exactly. Yeah,
right? And I think the other important thing is like we're, I think people forget like we're all human, you know? Like
yeah,
we make mistakes. That's part of
yeah,
like life, you know? Every day we make a mistake, like
right,
100 mistakes, you know? It's, you may not notice all of them, but like it's normal to make mistakes. It's normal to go to the
right,
bathroom. It's, you know, like
yeah,
everyone does it. We are all the same people. We just look a little different and have a slightly different personality. But like at the end of the day, the president makes mistakes. The CEOs of every company make mistakes. You know, like, yeah, no one is better
yeah,
than anybody else.
right, right. Yeah,
You
it's
may be
kind of
smarter, but like no one is better and everybody
yeah,
makes mistakes.
yeah, and it's back to how do you build an environment of psychological safety?
Yeah.
You know, that's the and you know one of the things that we train is um, if the team does great, it's because they all did great,
Yeah.
right? Mary built this thing, Guijem built that thing, Garrett was on that thing over there. But if the team does badly, it's my fault
Yeah.
as the team lead because I didn't direct them in the appropriate way. I take all the arrows, they get all the praise. And my experience has been that, again, the first time you do that, it's hard. But number one, the executives respect you a lot more for that. And your team really appreciates it that you don't throw them under the bus.
Yeah.
They appreciate getting the accolades, like, when you're in a product team meeting, you're reviewing something that's about to go live, and you're like naming people on the team. So and so architected this, so and so coded it, like all that, like they get name recognition in front of the company, and the team lead doesn't.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, because the team lead's the narrator, like everybody hears their voice, right? They're not invisible. And when there's a problem, if you shield the team, builds trust for them, and the executives like it that you're being accountable,
Yeah.
right? And like you said, they're not going to fire you. They're like, oh my God, Oscar's taking accountability, and thank goodness somebody's willing to stand up and go, yeah, I screwed up. I'm really sorry. I got to figure out how to make it not happen again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a learning opportunity, right? And I think that's one of those, like when people do that, we should cheer them on.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. It's like you said before, if people are used to doing it, they're going to start doing it more often.
Yeah.
And there's something about like, I think, when you break a rule, right? Where as children, we're taught this. When you break a rule, there are consequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very important to like point that out. And we live in a society, the same thing. You break a law, you can go to prison, right? So people, I think, tend to think that like you're breaking this rule, you're doing this wrong, and if you become accountable, something very bad can happen, right?
Sure.
You will be punished for this, So, and I think that there's this, where people think that it's much worse than it really is in the work environment. It's not like you're doing sexual harassment. That's something that, there are consequences for. But like,
Right.
if you screwed up and like, oh man, I forgot to merge the code because it was on my offline computer, and that's why this is not working, guys. It's on me.
Right.
Again, you're not going to get fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing also, like, I don't think we really spoke enough about this, is as a leader, as the team leader, you need to make sure that your people are happy, right?
Yes.
I think we didn't talk about that. And I think when you have happy employees who, number one, feel appreciated, right? That's the biggest thing. If they feel appreciated, if they feel like their work is making a difference, if they're happy in the environment, those people are going to spend, instead of being, oh, my job is 9 to 5, they don't care staying from 5 until 9 p.m. just to finish coding whatever they needed to code, because they know like, hey, I made this awesome thing. And like,
Right.
It goes back to like what I was saying earlier in the conversation. As the team leader, you're the parent, right? And every child wants their parent to be like proud of them, like they don't want to fight with the other kids. They want to be the favorite, and they want to be like, hey, I did my homework. Great job. You're going to get a cookie now. Like you want to show them appreciation. You want to show that like, hey, we couldn't do this without you. And the more of that they're able to feel, the more they're going to the more they're going to stand by, the more they're going to stick with you. And like, it's funny because like we talk about also relationships, and, somebody could work for you for 3 months, but you could also have somebody that works with you for 10 years, And if they feel appreciated, if they feel loved, if they feel like you really look out for them, because you could still have somebody who works for you for 10 years, but not be their friend outside of an office environment.
Right. Yeah. I think that happiness is I'm surprised we didn't talk about happiness earlier. That's so funny.
Me too. I think because we're so used to it that we didn't think like, this is such a simple thing that we need to point out.
Yeah. I just, for me, that's one of those, it's a given, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to have a company email address. And we're going to be doing whatever we can to make you happy because I know it's great ROI.
Yeah, but it's so funny because like I'm going to tell you this. I've been in places before and where personally I don't care about a title. I never cared, like, even in my first job, I was the head of this department, but like, I didn't care that they gave me a head of this department. If they wrote janitor, I would still be happy. You know what I mean? Like, but there are people who
Yeah.
maybe a title means a lot to them, right?
Right.
And I
Right.
think I like over time, one of the things that I used to do a little less now because like we're such a small team right now, and like we talk all day long. We're very like communicative, But in the past, what I used to do would be like every couple of weeks, just like take an employee aside and be like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, "Oh, things are great." Like everybody likes to say, "Oh, things are great." He's like, how can we make things better? Like try to pull out like the problems that they're having, and I think it's also like the same way somebody takes accountability that we were saying before is like, as a team leader, you could say like, I feel like people are struggling here and I'm not sure why. Put the blame on you. Like, I'm not sure what's going on. I want to get a better environment. What are your thoughts? And number one, you're putting trust in your employee or the person. Number two, you're bringing yourself down a level. So it's not like, oh, this is my boss. Now it's like, oh, they're coming to me as a friend. And the information that you're going to get from these people, you're going to find like problems that you didn't know existed. And you're going to find like, hey, how can I make this person happy? Like we had, this is going to sound so stupid, but in one of my lights are going out again, but in one of the offices that we had, the people didn't like the coffee. And yeah, and they were in like the crummiest mood because they loved coffee. They hated coffee. Now they had to go spend $4 on a coffee outside the office, each person, and they just pain in the butt,
Yeah.
And like simple solution. Okay, what coffee would you like? Get the coffee. Like everybody's so happy that now you spent an extra $4 a month on a better bag of coffee, that like they have now selected because you're now listening to people who work for you or with you.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I've always been a huge like, what's it take to make the team happy? And it seems like the most expensive thing that teams have ever asked for has been new computers. And new computers are, in the grand scheme of the world, insanely cheap.
Nothing. Yeah.
And the ROI of it is 1,000%.
It's huge. Yeah.
It's like if I think every year you should get a new computer because it's so cheap and it shows the employees how much you care. We want to get you the latest and greatest, whatever it is you happen to use,
Yeah.
And it's, and if an employee goes, I don't need a new computer, I want to be green, my work doesn't require a ton of CPU, great. But for anybody that wants a new computer, raise your hand, we'll get you a brand new one because you need the horsepower. Like, it's such an emotional win.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, you're 100% right. I actually had this conversation years ago with, so I've done consulting on the side for people, and I had that conversation exactly with an owner of a business. And I told him exactly that. I said, hey, look, you have people who have computers. They're asking you for a computer because theirs is a little slow. Like, this guy's making, I'm going to throw in a number, right? He's making $60,000 a year. You're paying $60,000 for his salary, and the new computer is, let's say, $1,500. It's minimal, and now
Right.
his productivity is going to 3x.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
why won't you do
Yeah.
that? Not to mention, if he leaves, the computer's still yours anyways.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The people don't think about the person hours lost
Yeah,
in
on the waiting,
having
right?
on waiting, right? Waiting for
Yeah.
like, in my world, when people are compiling code, like you're just sitting there going do, waiting for it to compile, and the faster that can get done, the faster you can do the next thing.
You're saving thousands of dollars. Like,
Yeah, yeah, because people hours are expensive.
exactly.
You know?
People hours are expensive.
Yeah, and so in my mind, I'm like, I want to optimize the people hours and get better ROI out of those. And I've yet to have somebody make an unreasonable request.
Yeah.
Nobody's asked for a new car. So
Well, if they would 2x their productivity, you're getting them a new car.
I might, exactly, right. I might be like, listen, let me do the math on this. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, a couple $100 a month. It's cheaper than giving a raise,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But like one of the companies I was at, I didn't even think it's we were working super late because early stage startup and things were crazy, and pretty normally we're at the office till midnight. And one day the CEO came over and was like, "I'm worried about you guys driving home at night. I got to deal with this hotel over there. Just walk in, tell them who you work for. They'll give you a room. We'll cover it. Don't worry about it."
It's great. It's great.
Awesome.
It's great. And guess what? You remember that story.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
that's how much it meant and how little it cost. Right? As a line item, it costs so little, but it means so much.
Right. Because nobody, like, the hotel was 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
Nobody lived 5 minutes away. I think
Yeah.
the shortest commute anybody had was 30 minutes, and when we're leaving at midnight or 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, sometimes I'd rather somebody just go to the hotel.
Yeah.
I think the whole time I was there, maybe 2 people in 4 years went to the hotel, but the fact that it was available was so trust building.
Yes. Like you
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know what else I would do in the office? I would do Pizza Fridays.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
It would cost less than $100. I think it was like $60. You'd feed everyone. Everybody's like, "Oh, we got pizza. We got a free lunch. We got," like, they tell all their friends. Like, it builds community within the team.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and it's back to they like their job, they like the employer, they trust the employer. It's all good ROI, and they're engaged.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't figure this out. What do you guys think? And they're willing to talk and go like, oh, how about whatever. So I just looked at the time and realized I've had you for more than an hour.
Okay.
Way more than an hour. Almost an hour
It's
and
all
a half
right.
now.
It's all right.
Oh no.
That's
You've been
okay.
super patient with me.
No, you know what? I'll tell you the truth. I blocked out 2 hours. I mean, I don't know
my
how
God.
long we would, yeah, I don't know how long we would talk for, whether it's like 20 minutes or 2 hours. So I'm like, let's do this,
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, this has
Yeah.
been good.